Hello, my name is Kiriarth, and today we're going to do something we haven't really done before, and we're going to talk about one of them nice little rumours that Games Workshop likes to start. So we're not going to look at the rumour engine stuff, although we will mention that. Instead, we're going to look at this here image, what is on the screen right now. Told you. So this is taken from a short video that Games Workshop released, it's got to be at least a week ago now, maybe even two, and I kind of didn't want to talk about it until I'd seen, I guess, more than one or two reactions to it. Give us a nice basis for what people might think this refers to, what it could be about, all of that kind of stuff. And I'll link the video. In fact, no, I won't link the video down below. I will show it to you now. Told you I was going to show it to you. So yeah, that was the video, and this is kind of interesting. This is a little bit different, and I've seen a lot of different takes on this now. I've read a lot of different posts, I've watched a lot of different videos, all discussing what this could possibly be, and I thought, why not take a look at some of the most popular theories, and we can, well, make a judgment call on whether they think that person is right, or whether we think that person or theory is wrong. So straight off, what I've done, by the way, is the image you're looking at is a little bit brighter than the original that you see in the video. I've just slammed it into Photoshop and duplicated the layer and set the top onto screen just to bring it out a little bit, just to make it a little more easy to, you know, comprehend the details. And of course, it wouldn't be a little random video of mystery without some sort of code attached, and it looks like we've got one here, the B50AP/78903/M/H. What that means, I have no idea. I still can't really find anything to suggest that it's, well, anything beyond weird random numbers. People have used it in URLs, other people have tried to decode it using God knows what system. I've not really seen anything that points to it being anything massively significant, but it could be. We just don't know yet, or at least I haven't been able to find anything that suggests we know yet. Let us first have a look at the actual symbol itself. I mean, it's clearly based on the old Aquila, the Imperial symbol, with the two eagles' heads on the top there, and in this case, both of them are blind. Now, your standard one is blind in one direction and with an open eye in the other direction. Blind to the past, looking to the future, all of that shit. This one is incredibly stylized in that it seems to be forming a skull, which frankly is badass, and I think whoever actually made this, whichever person at Games Workshop's design team came up with this particular symbol, they've done a pretty damn good job because it looks quality. That also kind of could be a hint as to what it's about. So what we'll do is take the image down now, just, I think you've probably seen it enough. I'll flash it up again now and again. No, I'll leave it in the corner. We'll do it that way. So, there is any number of theories. The first is that it's a brand new faction. Now, that is the one that I've seen bandied about fairly frequently. It's also the one that I think is probably the least likely, in terms of kind of actually introducing a whole new range. I can't really see that happening, and I'll tell you for why, and it's pretty simple. Primaris are, for all intents and purposes, the brand new faction for Warhammer 40,000, and they are not really, I was going to say they're not close to having a full line yet. They are getting there. They're getting there pretty damn quick. They've got a good selection of characters, none named at the moment. They've got a Dreadnought, they've got a tank, and of course standard Space Marine stuff can be used in conjunction with Primaris, but I do not think we've seen the end of Primaris launches. I think we're going to see more stuff down the line, and I don't think Games Workshop would stick another faction out so close to what is effectively an already brand new faction release. And I know that there's going to be some of you going, well, Primaris Marines aren't a separate faction, what are you talking about, they're part of Space Marines? I mean, technically, yeah, they are part of Space Marines, but they are being treated as a separate faction. Really, that's why I say, for all intents and purposes, you've got a brand new model line. You've got brand new rules, you've got brand new lore. It might just be more Space Marine shit, which is obviously disappointing if you're looking forward to a brand new faction, but they are new, and whether you like it or not, I really suspect that that is the way that that's going to go. I would be incredibly surprised if we saw a brand new anything to do with the main game out of this. And I say that because there's also a couple of theories. I think Chapter Master I can't pronounce anything. I really don't know what's happened to my brain over the last few years. I can't use English, which is a shame because it's the only language I know. Chapter Master Vralkis? That, you know the guy. Good 40k YouTuber. He had a video on this, which was quite interesting, talking about the possibility of it being Steel Legion, talking about the war on Armageddon. I say the war on Armageddon, one of God knows how many wars on Armageddon, and the fact that it turns out that Armageddon is in fact just a renamed Ullanor, which is interesting. Oh, the light. I've really got to sort the lighting out in here. I say it every single video, but one day it'll happen. So that's a possibility. I have to admit, I did find the argument for that to be quite compelling, but I think it misses a couple of subtleties, and I think there's a couple of things in there that make it kind of unlikely that this would be a Steel Legion specific thing. And you feel free to think that I am just thinking far too much into this. I'm reading too much into a single little video and a single image. But hear me out. So the double-headed eagle, the skull, it kind of does feel a bit Imperial Guard, but to me it doesn't feel Steel Legion Imperial Guard, which is what the suggestion is, that we'll be seeing a re-release of the Steel Legion, so we'll be seeing plastic Steel Legion models, and we'll be getting, you know, a nice set of releases supporting Steel Legion. That would be cool, but I don't look at that and immediately think to myself, that's Steel Legion. If I was going to get any vibe for an Imperial Guard army from this image, from this video, it would be, I mean, it would be Death Corps, or Corps, depending on how you want to pronounce it. I would have said Corps. I would say Death Corps of Krieg is what I would associate that kind of skull imagery with, but I don't really know where I've got that from, because although their gas masks do look a little bit skull-like, they mostly just look like gas masks, although they are called the Death Corps, so, you know, maybe that's where that imagery has come from. Looking at it though, Steel Legion would be nice, but I just don't really see a lot of the things in there that tie it specifically to Steel Legion and to Armageddon. Would it be interesting? Yeah, it would, and it would be refreshing to see an Imperial Guard army other than Cadians get some plastic shit. That would be nice. But at the same time, I don't really think there's enough in there pointing towards Steel Legion, and I think there's a couple of bits of this particular image, this particular video, that are pretty standout to suggest that it's not a new faction, it's not a re-release of Steel Legion. The most compelling thing that I am finding for this is that it's to signify the return of Necromunda and the Arbites. That is what I would assume this is for. For a start, the double-headed eagle, the fact that both of them are blind, is kind of significant to me, and I've seen the phrase "justice is blind" bandied around a few times. Given that that's one of the first things I noticed, that both heads are blind, and the skull icon, the skull motif that is going into that same symbol, that sort of, to me, suggests that it would be something to do with justice, with the death sentence. For me, it's kind of playing on the Judge Dredd sort of thing, which, let's face it, Games Workshop takes their inspiration from many things, and I'm not saying that, you know, they copied Judge Dredd or anything stupid like that, but I'm just saying that that sort of imagery is fairly popular. It's not an unknown thing. It wouldn't be completely out of left field for there to be some sort of hint towards a judgment of death, for instance. I have to admit, I have seen a couple of things related to that, saying that perhaps this is something to do with the Dark Imperium, the section of the Imperium that was split off during the events of the Gathering Storm. Again, could be entirely possible, but I think it's a little too specific for that. And I know this is going to sound, like I say, it's going to seem like I'm reading far too much into this, but if you just look at the symbol, I think you could get any number of conclusions. I think you could get, you know, a Dark Imperium. I think you could get the idea of Steel Legion. You could get the idea of a new faction of some kind to do with the Imperium. For me, though, if you look at the image as a whole, not just the symbol, but what the symbol's on, that to me looks like a drain cover. You see them all over the place, UK, various other, you know, all across the world, essentially. Drain covers are fairly standard, so people don't fall into the fucking sewer or the pipes under the road. That, to me, has the look of a drain cover to it. And I would associate that kind of item with a city. I would then associate the two blind heads of the eagle and the skull, a judgment of death, being something to do with, well, passing sentence on people in a city setting. And whilst the numbers on the top could be something, they could well be a hint, they could well be a teaser, they could also just be a mark to show where that particular cover is in what section of the city. It really just screams Necromunda to me. It screams Necromunda. I think in a way it might be a new faction, but in the sort of way where we're seeing the Arbites come back, that we're going to see Arbites versus Gangers, that we're actually going to have a return of that specialist board game. Because taken by itself, the symbol could mean all sorts of things. Taken as a whole, that's just what I see, you know? And I've seen quite a few other people suggest the same thing, that it could well be the return of Necromunda, and that's been hinted at several times. We've seen loads of specialist games come back, we've seen new specialist games, we've seen older specialist games come back. It would make sense for Necromunda to be next on the list, because Necromunda was a popular game. And bringing another faction, albeit in a small way, would be a popular move, as would returning Necromundas to the stable of products that Games Workshop has. So, do I think it's a brand new 40k faction so soon after Primaris? Probably not. No. In terms of a limited release faction, where maybe you've got a few models, then quite possibly, but only because it's in conjunction with a specialist game release. I don't think it's a Dark Imperium thing. I mean, it could be, but that would just be taking the symbol itself in isolation, and I would be a little bit disappointed if they were that plain with it, I guess. I just can't see the Steel Legion thing, and I'm sure there'll be many people going, how can you not see it? But I just don't. For me, I would be surprised if it was anything other than return of Necromunda with the Arbites faction coming back, albeit in a small, limited release to match the specialist game itself. But what I want to know is, what do you think? I mean, that's been up on the screen for the entire time. You've had a good chance to look at it, you've had a good chance to take in the detail, and you've listened to me waffle on. What do you reckon this is? Do you think any of those theories are true? Are you angling more towards Dark Imperium? Are you angling more towards Steel Legion or a new faction release? Or do you, like me, reckon it's the return of Necromunda? I'd be really interested to hear what you say, because there's been a lot of debate about this, and that's why I wanted to cover it. I wanted to have the conversation with you guys and see what you reckon. As always, thank you very much for watching. You know what, I'll just stick it on the screen for the stupid end slate bit, and you can have another last look. Let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, I do enjoy seeing what you think about this stuff. There's the usual just cavalcade of nonsense, a couple of links to videos, Patreon, subscribe, all of that shit. Click them if you like. If you don't want to, that's entirely up to you. I won't hold it against you for very long. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Toodaloo.